The first sound she heard was laughter. Not the nervous kind. Not the uncertain kind. Cruel laughter. The auction hall shimmered with gold-lit chandeliers and levitating holographic banners displaying exotic species, rare artifacts, war trophies. The wealthiest traders in 3 systems filled the tiered balconies. Perfume mist floated through the air to soften the scent of fear. And at the center of it all, chains rattled. She stumbled forward. The dragon lady did not roar. She did not resist. She did not lift her head. Her wings were torn along the edges, membranes shredded where plasma cutters had carved restraint patterns. Her scales, once rumored to gleam like molten sunrise, were dulled to ash gray. A black collar pulsed faintly around her throat, humming every time her body tried to ignite. Fire suppression. Humiliation technology. The auctioneer adjusted his crystalline cuffs and gave the crowd a theatrical sigh. Lot 77, he announced, voice amplified through the chamber. A dragon. Formerly dangerous. Currently, decorative. The room erupted in amusement. An alien in the front row leaned back and chuckled. Decorative? I've seen house pets with more spirit. More laughter. The dragon lady kept her eyes lowered. She would not give them her gaze. She would not give them rage. Because rage was what they wanted. The auctioneer tapped his staff against the floor. A projection flickered above her head, an old image of her in flight, wings wide, fire trailing across a battlefield sky. Historical note, he continued mockingly, subject once held minor territorial influence in a collapsing dragon sovereignty. Rebellion suppressed. Power neutralized. Lineage extinguished. The word extinguished echoed longer than it should have. He grinned. Starting bid, 1 credit. The whole roared. 1 credit, someone shouted. That's too generous. Another voice chimed in, going once for pennies. The auctioneer played along. Very well. Half-credit increments accepted. The dragon lady's claws tightened against the platform floor. The suppressor collar flared briefly, sending a tremor through her spine. Her body betrayed her with a shudder. They laughed harder. Screens along the walls displayed live bidding metrics. No one pressed. Silence fell, not respectful silence. Dismissive silence. The auctioneer raised an eyebrow dramatically. Surely someone wants a garden ornament. The alien in the front row raised a single finger lazily. Half credit. Scattered applause. The dragon lady closed her eyes. She had once commanded skies. Now she was worth less than livestock feed. Half credit offered, the auctioneer sang. Going once. A pause. Going twice. From the upper tier, another bidder smirked and added, 1 credit. I'll mount the skull. More laughter. The suppressor collar pulsed again. Her fire clawed at her throat, desperate to exist. It died before reaching her teeth. Generous, the auctioneer declared theatrically. 1 credit. Going once. No one else moved. A few spectators were already looking away, bored. She felt something shift in the air. Not loud. Not dramatic. Just stillness. At the very back of the hall, near the lowest tier, standing where servants and minor buyers usually gathered, a human remained motionless. He wore simple clothing. No jeweled cuffs. No armored escort. No insignia of wealth. His hands were rough. Dirt stained the cuffs of his sleeves. He had not laughed. He had not smiled. He had not looked away. He was watching her, not like merchandise. Like a question. The alien who had bid 1 credit noticed him staring and scoffed. First time at auction, human? No response. The auctioneer smirked and raised the staff again. 1 credit, he repeated loudly. Going twice. The human lifted his hand. Not quickly. Not dramatically. Just enough. The hall quieted, not because of authority. Because of confusion. The auctioneer blinked. Yes? State your bid. The human's voice carried without amplification. 10 credits. The silence that followed was sharp enough to cut. 10 credits? For her? The alien bidder laughed. You misheard. She's broken. The human didn't look at him. The auctioneer regained composure. 10 credits offered. Quite the leap for a decorative item. A few murmurs spread through the crowd. The alien bidder sneered. 15. The human raised his hand again. 30. The laughter stopped completely. The auctioneer's smile faltered slightly. This was no longer amusing. This was no longer disposable. 30 credits offered, he said carefully. The alien bidder hesitated. The price now exceeded mockery territory. The human didn't blink. Didn't posture. Didn't boast. He simply stood there. The dragon lady slowly lifted her head. For the first time since entering the hall, her eyes opened. They found him. He did not flinch under the weight of a dragon's stare. The alien bidder scoffed and waved dismissively. "She'll burn your house down, human." The human's answer was quiet. "I grow things." Confused murmurs rippled through the balconies. The auctioneer swallowed and raised the staff once more. 30 credits, he declared. Going once. A long pause. Going twice. The alien bidder shifted but did not raise his hand again. The human remained still. Sold. The staff struck the platform with a ringing crack. The sound echoed through the hall. And for the first time that night, no one laughed. The dragon lady's chains remained attached. But something unseen had already broken. As guards approached to transfer ownership, the alien who had mocked her leaned toward the human and whispered coldly, "You just bought ashes." The human met his gaze calmly. "No," he replied. "I bought a future." And in the hollow of her chest, something warm flickered. Very small. But alive. The chains did not fall immediately. They dragged her off the platform first. Procedure. Ownership transfer protocols flickered across hovering screens as the auction hall slowly resumed its low murmur of conversation. The wealthy moved on quickly, already distracted by the next rare weapon, the next exotic creature. But eyes followed the human. Not admiring eyes. Calculating ones. 2 armored attendants shoved the dragon lady toward the rear access corridor. The suppressor collar pulsed again, forcing her wings tight against her back. Sparks flared along her scales, tiny bursts of dying fire. "Careful," one guard muttered. "Even declawed, they bite." The human walked behind them without escort. No guards. No visible weapon. Just steady footsteps. The alien who had bid against him stepped into his path near the corridor entrance. Tall. Broad-shouldered. Decorative armor etched with conquest sigils. "You embarrassed me," the alien said calmly. The human stopped. There was no anger in his posture. No intimidation either. "Wasn't my intention," he replied. The alien gave a thin smile. 30 credits for damaged royalty. You overpaid." "I don't think so." The alien leaned closer. "You know why she was cheap?" The human said nothing. "Because the collar doesn't just suppress fire. It suppresses lineage. Her sovereignty marks are inert. Whatever dynasty she belonged to is gone." The human's gaze flicked briefly to the dragon lady ahead of them. Her claws scraped lightly against the metal floor. She heard every word. The alien continued, voice lowering. "You bought a story with no ending." The human finally met his eyes. "Everything grows," he said quietly. "If it's planted right." The alien laughed once more, but there was less confidence in it now. "Enjoy your garden ornament." He stepped aside. The corridor doors sealed behind them. Silence replaced the noise of the hall. The guards scanned the human's ownership credentials. The transfer finalized with a sterile chime. "Property released," one guard announced. They unlocked the primary restraints from the chain harness, but left the collar active. "Removal of suppression requires licensed authorization," the guard added sharply. "Attempting to override it is punishable by." "I know," the human said. The guards exited without ceremony. The corridor lights dimmed to standby mode. And suddenly, it was just the two of them. The dragon lady stood motionless. Free of chains. Still bound by the collar. She expected an order. A command. A leash. Instead, the human stepped around her and knelt. Not submissively. Not ceremonially. Just practically. He examined the collar's locking mechanism. Her body tensed instantly. "If you try to remove it," she rasped for the first time, her voice rough from disuse, "it will shock me." He nodded once. "I assumed." Her eyes narrowed. "Then why kneel?" "Because it's easier to reach from here." He pulled a small toolkit from his coat pocket. Not military. Not industrial. Gardening tools. Fine pruners. Micro-adjustment pliers. A mineral cutter. Her breath hitched slightly. "You are aware," she said slowly, "that if this comes off, I may kill you." He didn't look up. "That would be your choice." The collar flared faintly as his tool touched its seam. Her muscles seized from the warning surge. He paused, not withdrawing, but adjusting angle and pressure. "You should fear me," she whispered. "I don't," he replied. There was no arrogance in it. Just fact. The locking seam gave a microscopic shift. Her eyes widened. You can't remove it, she said sharply. Only the auction registry. Click. The pulse dimmed. Click. The humming stopped. The collar fell into his hand. For a heartbeat. Nothing happened. The air felt heavier. Still. Her fire surged upward like a creature released from drowning. It reached her throat. And stopped. Not because it was suppressed. Because she stopped it. The corridor walls glowed faintly from the heat radiating through her scales. She stood taller. Wings trembling. Strength returning in slow, electric waves. The human remained kneeling, collar resting in his palm. He set it gently on the floor. You're free, he said. The word echoed in the empty corridor. Free. No chains. No suppression field. No control signal. She stared at him. Confusion warred with instinct. You do not command me, she asked. No. You do not bind me? No. Her pupils narrowed vertically. You bought me. Yes. Silence stretched between them. Why? He finally looked up at her fully. Not at her scars. Not at her broken wings. At her. Because they were wrong, he said. About what? That you were finished. Her fire flickered behind her teeth. Not destructive. Alive. She stepped closer. Towering over him. You are small, she said. Yes. You are fragile. Probably. You stand in an enclosed corridor with an unchained dragon. I do. And you are not afraid. He considered the question honestly. Afraid isn't useful right now. Something shifted behind her eyes. A calculation. A memory. No one had removed her collar before. No one had knelt without a weapon. She turned away suddenly. And released a controlled burst of flame upward. The corridor ceiling blistered. Alarms flared briefly, then stabilized. The fire did not spread. It did not rage. It obeyed her. When the light faded, the air shimmered with heat. She inhaled slowly. My fire answers, she said quietly. Yes. She looked back at him. You have changed everything. He rose to his feet calmly. No, he said. You did. Far beyond the auction hall, across the skyline of the trade world. Clouds shifted. Not violently. Not dramatically. But subtly. As if something ancient had just taken its first breath again. She flexed her torn wings. They will come for me, she warned. He nodded. Then we should leave. Where? He turned toward the exit lift. Home. She hesitated only a second before following. Behind them, on the auction registry system. Lot 77 status updated. Transferred. Suppression removed. Active energy readings, rising. And in the private observation chamber above the hall. The alien who had mocked her stared at the monitor. His smile had disappeared. Track them, he ordered. Because somewhere deep in his instincts. He felt it. The sale had not ended a story. It had started one. The estate was not what she expected. No fortress walls. No anti-air cannons tracking the sky. No containment field humming beneath the soil. Just land. Wide. Quiet. Alive. The transport shuttle settled into a clearing surrounded by layered terraces of green. Trees with silver-veined leaves swayed in the late light. Water channels curved through stone beds, reflecting a sky painted in copper dusk. She stepped out first. Her claws pressed into real earth. Not steel plating. Not auction platform alloy. Soil. She inhaled. The scent hit her like a forgotten memory. Minerals, moisture, growing things. Behind her, the human descended the shuttle ramp carrying nothing but a small crate and a folded cloth. This is where you live, she asked. Yes. You defend nothing? I defend this, he said simply, gesturing to the garden. She turned slowly, wings half unfurled. If they attack you here, she said, this place will burn. He nodded once. Then we'll replant. The answer unsettled her more than any threat could have. He led her along a stone path bordered by flowering vines. Some of the plants recoiled slightly from her heat, leaves curling, then adjusting, adapting. You grow food? She asked. Some. Medicinals? Yes. She paused near a long bed of low crimson shrubs. Their leaves shimmered faintly. Fireleaf, she murmured, surprised. He glanced at her. You recognize it? It only grows in volcanic regions. I recreated the mineral composition. She stared at the plants more carefully. The soil beneath them was layered with crushed basalt and rare trace elements. Precise. Intentional. You expected me to need it, she said. Yes. Silence stretched. He moved ahead, placing the crate near a shaded alcove carved naturally into a hillside. A shallow pool reflected the sky. Stone benches curved along the edge. You can rest here, he said. She did not sit. She walked to the pool instead and looked at her reflection. Ash-gray scales. Torn wing membranes. Scars crossing her collarbone where the suppressor had bitten for years. Why? She asked again, not turning around. He knelt near a wooden table and began sorting small jars from the crate. Because they wanted you erased, he said. And you want to see what survives. She laughed once, low, humorless. You think I am a plant. I think you were planted in the wrong place. She faced him sharply. I am not fragile. I know. Dragons do not require tending. No, he agreed calmly. But wings heal better with support. He approached slowly, holding a shallow bowl filled with thick amber paste. She tensed. What is that? Mineral salve. Fire leaf resin. Volcanic ash compound. It accelerates membrane repair. She studied him carefully. You researched dragon physiology. Yes. For how long? Long enough. She stepped closer. If this harms me. It won't. You are certain? Yes. She hesitated only a breath longer before lowering one wing. The damage was severe. Membrane tears stitched crudely from past attempts to keep her flight capable before sale. Burn scars. Suppression shock residue. He did not flinch at the sight. He began applying the salve carefully, evenly. His hands were steady. She watched his face instead of the treatment. You were not always a gardener, she said. No. What were you? He worked in silence for several seconds. I tended royal grounds on a human colony world, he said at last. She felt something tighten in the air. Past tense. Yes. What happened? He smoothed the final layer of salve and stepped back. It burned. She went still. War? Yes. You fought? No. You ran? No. He met her gaze directly. I planted what I could before it fell. Understanding flickered behind her eyes. You stayed. Yes. And survived. Barely. She flexed her wing gently. The salve absorbed into the torn membrane, warmth spreading along the damage. Not fire. Healing. You lost your world, she said quietly. Yes. And you chose to buy a dragon instead of a weapon. Yes. She studied him for a long moment. You are either foolish, she said slowly, or very dangerous. Possibly both. The corner of her mouth almost lifted. Almost. Night settled gradually over the estate. Bioluminescent flowers opened along the terraces, casting soft blue light across the grounds. She walked alone toward the far edge of the property. Beyond the garden, hills rolled into dark horizon. She felt it building. The fire. Stronger now. No collar. No suppression. No leash. She stepped onto an elevated stone ridge overlooking the estate. And she released it. A column of flame erupted upward into the sky. Not wild. Not uncontrolled. Perfectly shaped. It spiraled above her like a banner. The clouds shifted color, reflecting molten gold and deep crimson. Below, in the garden, the human did not run. He stood among his plants and watched the sky change. Her wings spread fully for the first time in years. The torn membranes glowed faintly as healing energy integrated with ancient fire. She lowered back to the ridge slowly. Below her, the estate remained intact. Untouched. She could have burned it. She didn't. When she descended back into the garden, he was waiting near the pool. You didn't scorch anything, he observed. No. Good. She studied him carefully. You trust me? Yes. Why? Because you chose not to burn what you could. Silence lingered between them. In the distance. Far beyond the hills. A faint flicker of light pulsed briefly in orbit. A tracking signal. She sensed it immediately. Her eyes narrowed. They found us, she said softly. He followed her gaze toward the sky. I assumed they would. You are not surprised. No. Her fire flickered stronger this time. Not defensive. Anticipatory. They will not come with laughter, she said. Good, he replied calmly. Why good? He looked at her, not as property, not as weapon, as equal. Because this time, he said quietly, they'll see what they sold. Above them, the clouds continued to glow, and somewhere in orbit, ships began to change course. They did not arrive quietly. 3 ships pierced the upper atmosphere before dawn. Not war cruisers, too expensive for this. Enforcement vessels. Private mercenary carriers marked with the insignia of the alien who had laughed the loudest at the auction. The sky rippled as their descent thrusters burned through the cloud layer. In the garden below, dew still clung to the leaves. The human was already awake. He knelt beside a row of fireleaf shrubs, trimming dead growth with deliberate precision. The dragon lady stood at the ridge above the estate, watching the sky. "They're early," she said. "Yes. You knew the exact number. I counted their signals last night." Her wings flexed once. The salve had done its work. The membranes were not flawless, but they held. "Stay inside," she said. "No." She turned her head slowly. "This is not your war." He rose, wiping soil from his hands. "It is when they land in my garden." The ships touched down along the outer boundary of the estate, crushing only the wild grass beyond the cultivated terraces. Disciplined. Careful. They wanted property intact. Ramps lowered. Armored figures marched out in tight formation, plasma rifles primed but not firing. At their center, the alien bidder descended last. His armor gleamed in morning light. He surveyed the estate with thinly veiled disgust. "A farm," he muttered. The mercenaries spread outward, forming a perimeter around the terraces. The dragon lady stepped forward from the ridge. Not flying. Walking. Each step deliberate. Her scales reflected the rising sun now, not ash-gray, but burnished bronze. The mercenaries hesitated. "She's unsuppressed," one of them whispered over comms. The alien bidder's expression hardened. "Property transfer under fraudulent concealment," he called out loudly. The dragon was sold under incomplete disclosure of active power. His voice carried across the estate. The human stepped forward onto the main terrace path. He carried nothing. No weapon. Only a folded datapad in one hand. "The registry confirmed suppression removal under lawful ownership," he replied calmly. "Your claim has no standing." The alien sneered. "I will reclaim what was improperly sold." The dragon lady's eyes flared faintly. "You sold me," she said. The mercenaries shifted. Her voice was no longer cracked from disuse. It resonated. The alien ignored her. "You are dangerous," he said to the human. "You tampered with controlled merchandise." "I unlocked a collar." "You restored a threat." The human tilted his head slightly. "She restored herself." The alien's patience snapped. "Seize them." The mercenaries advanced. Rifles raised. Not firing. Not yet. They intended containment. Control. Chains again. The dragon lady's wings unfolded fully. The sound alone made several soldiers hesitate. She stepped in front of the human. "You do not stand before me," he said quietly from behind her. She did not look back. "I stand where I choose." The first mercenary lunged forward with an energy restraint net. She moved faster than memory allowed. A controlled burst of flame erupted, not wide. Precise. The net vaporized midair. No explosion. No uncontrolled blaze. Just clean, directed fire. The mercenaries froze. The alien bidder took a step back despite himself. "You will burn the estate," he warned. She turned her head slightly. "No." Her tail struck the ground once. A shockwave rippled outward, not destructive, but forceful enough to push the front line of mercenaries back several meters. Still no casualties. Still no death. The alien's eyes narrowed. "You think restraint makes you noble?" "No," she said. "It makes me sovereign." The word hit harder than flame. The mercenaries faltered. The alien scoffed. "Your sovereignty was extinguished." The dragon lady lifted her chin. Her throat glowed faintly. "Extinguished things do not burn." She leapt. Wings catching air. Not a full ascent, just enough to rise above them. Her shadow swallowed the formation below. She did not rain fire. She released a single, vertical pillar of flame straight into the sky. It split the cloud layer in a blazing column visible for miles. A signal. Ancient. Deliberate. The mercenaries stared upward. "What did you do?" one of them asked. The alien's expression shifted from anger to calculation. In orbit. Unregistered signatures flickered. Old signals. dormant for years. Now responding. The human stepped forward calmly. "You should leave," he said. The alien glared at him. "You are bluffing." The ground trembled faintly. Not from ship's landing. From resonance. The dragon lady descended slowly, landing without impact damage. Her eyes locked onto the alien. "You mocked me for pennies," she said. He tried to recover composure. "And I was right. You were nothing." Her wings folded with controlled precision. "I was contained." She stepped closer. Heat radiated, but did not scorch the plants beside her. "You mistake mercy for weakness." The mercenary commander glanced at his instruments. "Sir," he muttered urgently. "Multiple incoming signatures. Unknown configuration." The alien's gaze flicked skyward. 3 distant streaks cut through the upper atmosphere. Larger than his enforcement vessels. Older design. Dragon architecture. Impossible. The dragon lady's voice lowered. "You sold what you did not understand." The alien swallowed. "You cannot rebuild a dead dynasty." Her eyes ignited fully now. "Watch me." The incoming ships did not attack. They hovered at high altitude. Observing. Answering her call. The alien's posture faltered. The mercenaries shifted uneasily. The balance had tilted. And for the first time since the auction, no one was laughing. The human looked up at the sky, then back at her. "You're not alone," he said. She did not take her eyes off the alien. "I never was." The alien hesitated 1 second too long. The mercenary commander made the decision for him. "Withdraw," he ordered. The soldiers began backing toward their ships in tight formation. Disciplined. Controlled. But no longer confident. The alien lingered last. "You will regret this," he spat. The dragon lady stepped close enough that heat shimmered between them. "No," she said softly. "You will." He turned and retreated. The ships lifted off one by one, engines roaring. The sky slowly returned to calm. The 3 dragon architecture vessels in orbit remained, silent guardians above the cloud layer. The dragon lady exhaled slowly. Her fire dimmed, but did not disappear. The human stepped beside her. "You could have killed them," he said. "Yes. But you didn't." "No." She looked at him at last. "They needed to leave alive." "Why?" "So they can tell the others." He nodded slightly. The message would travel faster than any fleet. The dragon's sovereignty was not extinct. It was awake. Above them, the clouds parted gently where her signal had burned. The garden remained intact. Not a single cultivated plant had been destroyed. She surveyed the estate, the place where she had healed. Where she had chosen restraint. "You defended nothing," she had said earlier. Now she understood. He defended growth. And she had just defended it with fire. In orbit, the dragon vessels shifted into protective alignment. The galaxy would hear soon. The ones who laughed had come to reclaim ashes. They left having witnessed ignition. And this time, they would not mistake it for decoration. The sky did not darken with war. It brightened with arrival. By midday, 7 more vessels bearing ancient dragon architecture slipped from hyperspace into high orbit. Their hulls were scarred, older than most modern fleets, but unmistakably sovereign in design, curved plating like folded wings, engines glowing with restrained plasma fire. They did not fire. They aligned. Above the garden, they formed a silent crown. Across 3 systems, emergency channels erupted with alerts. Dragon sovereignty signatures, active. On trade worlds, in council chambers, inside private war rooms. The same question echoed. How? Below, in the quiet estate where dew still clung to leaves, the dragon lady stood on the highest ridge overlooking the garden. Her wings were fully healed now. Not flawless, but strong. Her fire no longer flickered weakly in her chest. It burned steady. The human stood beside her, hands folded behind his back, watching the ships take formation. "You signaled more than mercenaries," he observed. "Yes." They were waiting. "For proof," she corrected. He nodded slightly. "For you?" "For hope." A shuttle detached from the lead dragon vessel and descended slowly toward the outer terrace. It did not scorch the earth. Its landing thrusters adjusted precisely to avoid disturbing the cultivated soil. Respect. The hatch opened. 3 figures emerged, dragons in humanoid form, scales gleaming with ancient crest markings across their brows and shoulders. They approached slowly. Then, they knelt. Not to the human. To her. "Your signal was verified," the eldest among them said, voice deep as tectonic shift. Your crest responded. She stepped forward. The crest along her collarbone ignited faintly, no longer inert. Who commands the fleet? She asked. You do, he answered without hesitation. Silence rolled across the terrace like distant thunder. The human did not speak. He did not look surprised. The dragon lady turned to him slightly. You knew, she said. Yes. How? You weren't decorative. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched her mouth. You researched my crest. Yes. You knew the collar suppressed lineage markers. Yes. You bought me to protect the last sovereign heir. Yes. She studied him carefully. You gambled 30 credits on a dynasty. He shook his head once. No. Then what? I invested in growth. The elder dragon watched the exchange closely. You are aware, he said to the human, that your action has shifted galactic balance. Yes. You have positioned yourself to request territory, wealth, fleet alliance. The human glanced at the garden below. The fireleaf shrubs. The water channels. The quiet. I don't need territory, he replied. I have soil. The elder dragon's gaze sharpened. You could be named protector of the sovereignty. The dragon lady watched him. Waiting. He met her eyes. I grow things, he said simply. Silence lingered. Then. She stepped toward the elder dragon. Prepare transmission, she ordered. Within minutes, every major network across the quadrant received the same broadcast. The dragon lady stood before the camera, wings unfurled behind her, not in aggression, but in declaration. I was sold, she began. Her voice did not tremble. I was chained. Suppressed. Mocked. Laughed at for pennies. Images of the auction hall flickered across feeds, captured and redistributed instantly. You believed our sovereignty extinguished. Her crest flared brighter. You were wrong. Behind her, dragon vessels shifted slightly in orbit, visible through atmospheric projection. We do not rise through annihilation, she continued. We rise through endurance. Across council chambers, the alien who had laughed watched in silence. His expression had lost all amusement. She stepped slightly aside, bringing the human into frame. This world is protected, she said. Not because it holds a throne. She glanced at the garden behind her. But because it holds growth. The broadcast ended without threat. Without demand. Without ultimatum. And that unsettled the galaxy more than war would have. Hours later, representatives from minor systems began transmitting requests, not for alliance. For protection. Not from dragons. From instability. From those who had believed sovereignty extinct and acted accordingly. By nightfall, the dragon sovereignty was not reborn through conquest. It was restored through recognition. On the terrace, beneath a sky now watched by loyal ships, she stood beside the human once more. You changed the stars, she said quietly. No, he replied. You did. She looked toward the horizon. I could build an empire. Yes. I could burn those who chained me. Yes. I could make the galaxy kneel. He didn't answer. She exhaled slowly. But I won't. The human nodded once. Good. Why? Because what survives is stronger than what destroys. She watched him for a long moment. You refuse reward, she said. Yes. You refuse power. Yes. You refuse position. Yes. Why? He knelt beside a young sapling planted near the ridge and pressed soil gently around its roots. Because if I leave, he said quietly, who waters this? The dragon lady stared at the small tree. Fragile. New. Alive. She extended one claw carefully and touched the soil beside it. Her fire pulsed, not hot. Warm. Protective. You bought me freedom, she said softly. I unlocked a collar, he corrected. She turned toward the sky, wings lifting slightly in the night breeze. You planted a queen, she replied. Above them, the dragon fleet maintained silent orbit. Not oppressive. Guarding. The alien who had laughed would live long enough to see his influence erode. He would remember the day he mocked a sovereign for pennies. And he would remember the human who raised his hand last. As night settled fully over the estate, she folded her wings and looked down at the garden one final time. I will return, she said. You're welcome, he replied. She stepped toward the shuttle waiting beyond the terrace. Paused. Then looked back. Next time, she added quietly. I visit as a guest. He nodded. I'll have something new growing. The shuttle lifted gently into the sky. No chains. No collar. No laughter. Just fire, steady and sovereign. And below, a garden attending the place where a dynasty had taken root. They sold her for pennies. Humanity paid in dignity. And the stars remembered.